Development Review Board to order. At the DRB, we hear applications for land development in the town of Brattleboro and appeals of zoning administrator decisions. Procedurally, the Development Review Board operates on the record. Broadly, this means that we take a clear record of testimony from the applicant and any interested parties, and then issue a written decision with our findings. Applicants and members of the public should be aware that we are on the record. This is your opportunity to comment on and provide evidence relating to an application. Application materials and written testimony is posted to the town website as received. Hearings may be continued at the board's discretion if materially important documents are received after the submission deadline. In the event our decision is appealed to the environmental court, the court will not take or consider additional testimony at its hearing, but will look at the evidence from our hearings, the regulations, and determine if the evidence supports the findings and decisions of this board. Only interested parties that participate in this proceeding may appeal a decision made by the board.
Recording in progress.
So I strongly encourage all of you to speak up at this hearing. As we are on the record, we are going to ask that you affirm that your testimony will be truthful. So that the applicants and anyone wishing to speak to an application, please affirm the following. I hereby affirm that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains of penalties of perjury. Please stand and say I do.
I do.
Oh, thank you very much. Anybody on Zoom? Okay.
I am,
Applicants require a majority vote
but I
of
haven't seen one.
No, okay. Applicants require a majority vote of the full board to succeed. That is 4 votes out of 7. If we do not have a full board present to hear your application, then we'll consider a request to continue your application to the next meeting. After taking testimony, the board will close the public hearing and may vote on your application. The board will issue a written decision within 45 days of the close of the hearing. While we may vote on its application, and it is the written decision that controls the timeline for appeal. It should be noted that the town of Brattleboro is a party with an interest in land development applications. The town does not have special status before this board. Documents provided to the board by the town planning department, town attorney, or other town departments will be considered in exactly the same way as any information from the applicant and all other interested parties. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of, what is it, March 19th?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Thank you. Brian, has the meeting been properly warned?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm going to appoint Keith Maxwell, our alternate, to sit on the board for these 2 applications because we have an opening today. So do we have any disclosures of conflicts of interest or ex parte communications having to do with these 2 applications? Anybody? Okay. And that's it. Here we go. So the first application is 2025-32, Tarmay Properties LLC. Take your place.
No objection, I'm going to use the old school method of paper.
Make sure that the,
Camera can see.
yep,
Gotcha.
Catherine.
yes, Kathleen.
I have no video of the board.
Yep.
I can't see you
They're
guys.
working on it.
They're working on it, we understand. The VCTV's here, he
Oh, okay.
says he's
Okay,
hoping to
I
get
thought-
it. We see
I thought it
you,
was me.
yeah, we see you very well.
I may need to stop this for just a second.
It went out electronically today, but what I intend to show is that it doesn't affect our criteria.
Okay,
It's not square, it's 120 by 150, it was 150 by 150, it would have obviously no impact, but a few things shuffled around, but basically no impact.
okay.
So
Tell us about your project then.
Right, okay. So I'm John Goodell from SVE Associates, and I am here for a major site plan review for Tarmy Properties to application for construction of an 18,000 square foot dry warehouse, 120 by 150 feet is its dimensions. The project, I guess they can see that, and maybe a quick overview. We're of course over on Putney Road for Vermont Plank. Putney Road is out here, and this is hard to do from this side. Let me get my bearings here. Oh, right, Putney Road's over on that side. So relative, there's Subway, for example. And so we're very much in the back, kind of tucked in behind the motel. This is all the existing Tarmy site, various, and their offices right here. And so we have, this space is open, currently it's, well-drained sandy soils, and that's where they're looking to put the warehouse. It actually butts up against this existing pavement on this side, and then the paved access, the primary access, loops around and comes, from this side. So it's 120 by 150, that's 18,000 square feet. It'll have 2 loading bays over on the railroad track side, back here, 2 loading docks, and a door on the front, and a couple of man doors on the sides. And the building will be sprinklered. In terms of lighting, basically a wall pack light over each of the doors, primarily for security. So hence, kind of the lowest level of light they could do for meeting their security requirements, so people can see, type of thing. And maybe outside of that, there are additional state permits needed. We'll have a state water supply wastewater disposal permit for the water and sewer connections. There will be just one bathroom, the rest of the building's unheated. And then of course for the sprinkler connection. And then also there is a Vermont state stormwater permit, which will, drives all of our, stormwater criteria. And the essential element to that state stormwater permit is this infiltration basin down here. And again, they're very fortunate. They have nice, well-drained sands on their site.
Recording in progress.
And I could dig in more, but that's kind of the broad overview of what we're doing. So a few things. One is that change I mentioned, which I'll go through in just a minute, and then I thought I would just touch on a couple items in the staff memo, and then maybe look for questions. So as I said, the original packet, looked like this, and basically it was 150 shown this way, 120 this way. So we just took this and turned it 90 degrees. So that's what it has. And actually, I walked up here without my pen copies. I'll take all of them. Sheets on one page. I put one on the front, one on the back. And what you're looking at is the same thing I have right here. If you have there's a proposed conditions plan, and then there's a landscape plan. And effectively what they're showing you is a building that's turned 90 degrees from the plan you looked at before. The scope of those changes affects where those wall pack lights are a little tiny bit, basically no impact. The one more interesting or what substantial change is in the application materials we said there were 3 bay doors on the Putney Road side. This will have 1 bay door on the Putney Road side. And However, it's a narrower space now. Now it's the 120-foot gable end of the building facing the Putney Road. And the reason I point that out is because that's the building facade talked about on those items in the staff memo. And so we're relying on that door as the elevation relief to break up that 120-foot into no more than two 60-foot bays. Basically meeting our building, I think it's building design requirement,
Facade,
right? Correct,
yeah.
yeah.
Is that why you turned it?
No, that was purely for operational reasons is what that was into too. I would have chosen to leave it alone, would have been my first choice, so we rotated the building 90 degrees, and that talked about the lighting aspect of it, that landscaping piece of things, and it makes this gravel entrance a little bit shorter. It basically, I'll flip to the landscape page. Doesn't change our landscaping at all. I mean, I have to qualify anything like saying at all because we slid the forsythia bushes closer to the building, but basically, effectively, no change in number of plantings, no significant change in their location and so forth. And I don't know, maybe any questions on that rotating of the building? I think it's straightforward, but if not, then I'll just go ahead to talk about the staff memo items. Okay. So we'll stay with the landscape plan. So just a couple items I noted in the staff memo. Yeah, under building standards, that's right. Items referring to items 223E1 and 223E2, basically the facade requirements and building landscaping requirements. And effectively what we're saying, how we believe we have met those two requirements is what I just said about the building facade. That's the 223E1. And then regarding the 223E2, they referenced breaking up sides more than 20 feet. However, there's more to that segment. Can be done with planters, it gives a certain dimension, or green space landscaped in accordance of section 315. And so our position is that we have met, like how we prepared this landscaping plan was that we met section 315, building landscaping. And specifically how we did that is we put targeted plantings, softened, there's a slight view like down this alley of this corner of the building. And we put some more targeted plantings, pin oak and some forsythia and so forth. But predominantly, we're relying on existing vegetation. And so we did a bunch of tree counting. There's a full run of trees between the motel and the site, kind of along this fence. There's another very dense thicket of trees here. And then similarly, another pocket of trees over along the fence line here as well. And we have those tree counts in our table. So basically, we just did that math and said this is how we connect the dot to say how we've met section 315. And I think those were the most significant comments in the staff memo. So maybe I should stop there and see if there's any further questions or another area, another angle I should be talking more about.
A question I have is, did you calculate coverage?
Yes, under 50.7%. There's actually quite a big, on this parcel is why that number is low, because let's go back to this landscape plan. Yeah, there's a large area all over on this side that is remains pervious. Then we have other pockets of pervious that are on this lot, up here as well. So in all cases, comfortably below 70%.
Another question I have is, to the west of the proposed building, How wide is that pavement? And is that considered like an access way or like a continuation of the driveway?
Yeah, so that's,
It's directly between the proposed building and the motel.
oh, this right here?
Yeah,
Well, I'm not sure what its history is. It doesn't really go I mean, it goes to snow storage down here, so it's kind of not being used for anything. In terms of dimension, it's over 50, I think less than 60 feet. It's fairly wide. But I mean, these guys, I don't know if what you use it for.
It
Or,
used to be a parking lot for Dennison and Jameson for their office there. And then we mostly just do snow removal and keep it plowed.
Yeah.
You know.
and then this question's coming from my read of in the service center district about frontage standards. I mean, my understanding, like the frontage, even though this is a shared, there's a right of way, a common access right of way from Putney Road. I'm wondering what the actual frontage is on Putney Road. It looks like it's about 60 feet maybe,
I think we have that dimension on there.
because presently it's pretty much all pavement, except for the sign.
You mean like the driveway, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the parcel, and that's by my definition, that's frontage. That's the frontage of the parcel on Putney Road.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like I don't have that number right there. I mean, I can tell you it looks like it is about 60 feet.
Because we have frontage standards, which I don't think the existing meets by my reading. I don't know if anyone else caught that.
Yeah, I guess, now for an existing, it would be an existing non-conforming lot, would be that scenario.
One thing it says is previously developed lots must eliminate any excess pavement within the setback to the maximum extent feasible, given site-specific conditions. And there's a max of 800 square feet within that 20-foot minimum front setback.
Yep, yep.
So 20 times 40. I think the reason for that is just, I mean,
History.
who knows why the regs, no, I'm just saying, but like why that regulation is in there, not that the DRB is here to like necessarily talk about why regs are, why they are, but just to try to decrease like pavement domination along the side of roads.
Yeah, I mean, a big chunk of the center of that, of course, is a sign, for the motel. There's that large sort of planter there, and so this existing, access, comes down there, and that would be, certainly kind of problematic for the area to try and fill up a little tiny strip of pavement on either side, just as a practical matter of, trying to make some sort of change there. I guess is there where we're doing, I'm thinking there's an early section of the regs. I didn't bring the whole rule book with me tonight, but about that we focus on our project area when you're working on an existing site. My read of that was that we could take that to mean we were focused on kind of our zone. We weren't trying to necessarily go to every corner and put the new rule template on everything, that type of thing.
I think I saw what you read as well.
It's early in the
regs.
Correct, yeah.
But then I don't know, I think the service center district is more specific than that generality. So, I mean, it's hard to figure out specific details right here at the meeting, deliberative session maybe later, or hear what Brian
Go
said.
ahead, Tom.
Oh, so it says that you can remove it to the extent possible. So I'm just wondering, is that a shared right of way? Do other properties around there have a legal right to use it?
Well, they certainly have a legal right to the sign, that is there. As far as the actual pavement, we'd have to double check if there is it seemed like they're overlapping right of ways, but I'd have to look at survey plans to answer that.
But more than one property uses it as a right of way to their businesses?
To answer that definitively, I would have to check.
To the south of the sign, we own it, and the motel has a right of way to go over that. And to the north of the sign is 40 feet with just our driveway that goes into the back.
Do you have some sort of plan? See if I could read it. Oh yeah, common access right of way. I'm looking at a previous boundary plan adjustment here. Yeah, there's not gonna be very much room that's practical to remove, just to the extent that you'd be looking at just a few feet of pavement. And I guess the question is also, we're pretty narrow to begin with. I don't know that we exceed that, that frontage requirement for maximum pavement in the building frontage. Yeah, I would have to look at those.
I have a question about the parking. So there's no proposed parking around this building, but you said there's a common shared parking lot?
Correct. There's two primary areas of parking. We have parking right here with 18 spaces and then parking over on this side. This building really is being plugged in to do a better job of things they already do. But attached with it is like a growth projection of maybe 3 additional people. So it's not a driver of a bunch more traffic, cars, people, so on.
And then you said there was 18 spots. Is that on that's on this lot though, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes. Right. Yes. On this lot goes
Yeah.
right down through.
that's good. It would just, to have a building like this with no parking available in the future might be an issue, if you were to repurpose it for something.
Does anybody else have questions? No? Catherine? Catherine, do you have any questions? No, I guess not.
I have actually another question. So the, you mentioned it wasn't fully paved in the back, or I guess to the south of the building?
Not paved at all.
Not paved at all, okay.
Or this entire area. Well, where the building is going is not paved, but this whole area, all the way to this fence line, is not paved at all. The limit of pavement is right here, I guess, shown on there.
And then around the building would be paved?
No, we're gonna butt up against the existing pavement, there's nothing,
I
just,
gotcha,
yeah.
interesting.
and a little piece of gravel
The
there. So
gravel, okay.
basically a building and a little bit of gravel to the, to the west, or to the east, rather.
And has the fire department seen your plans?
We did not specifically, seek them out just because it is fully sprinklered. And we have great access on all, oh, go ahead.
Oh, they have seen them.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
They didn't make any comments.
So, can you tell me how the trucks will go in and out and how the loading and unloading will happen?
Absolutely. So it basically follows because there's, of course, this whole building over here has storage in it, and this building, these two buildings have storage in it, and this, has operations and so forth. But the primary access is Hardwood Way. So trucks come over here, and they wind their way sort of through to the back. And that's where they go today. There's
Right.
service to large, trucks for all sorts of things. So they'll follow the same route coming over here, and we show this end of it with an auto turn truck sort of pulling in here and then backing up to the dock
Oh, I
right
see.
here. So it's kind of a T, and then off it goes the same route, going back the other way.
Any other questions from the board? No? Anybody in the public have questions or comments or anything you want to say? No? Okay. Tom, since you had the
Yeah, I mean,
issue.
I guess I mean, it's hard to figure these things out right here at the meeting to know for sure if it meets those frontage standards and section 311 about access and the driveway entrance. But can we add a condition that Brian verify, that the zoning administrator verify that as a condition?
How do you wanna,
Well, what does the zoning administrator think of that?
So I'm thinking that it looks like it probably doesn't, it looks like it's completely impervious, and, you know, it's an existing condition, so it's really on the board whether it's acceptable, or you think that some change is necessary, or possible, or feasible. So if you can't do that right off the cuff, maybe that's something for a deliberative session to discuss, but it's not really something you can toss to me to do administratively.
so your choice.
Yeah.
Do you wanna go to deliberative, or are you okay with this, or?
I mean, if we just say that it needs to meet those requirements, is
I
that?
don't think it does,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Oh, but we can add the condition that it needs to, or it would have to come back for our review then?
Yeah,
We could, because we can't spell out like from GPS coordinate here to here needs to be landscape, we can't do that at the meeting.
your choice, Tom.
Wait, what are my choices?
Do we wanna approve this here with no
Mhm.
conditions, or do we wanna go into deliberative session?
Oh, okay, yeah, deliberative session.
Okay,
That's what I proposed then.
So just, maybe I could just add one thing on that. I think there were two issues. You mentioned access, and then also just the frontage.
Well, when I say access, I mean, my concern is just the aspect about access of the entrance, which happens to have overlap with the frontage regulations.
Right, just because.
But as far as the driveways and access within the site, I mean,
Yeah, so
it's,
I guess that was the point I just wanted to be clear about, like this is not the access that's serving this building. It's, the Hardwood Way is what serves this building.
right, yeah, that's all I'm focusing on, just the public experience and interaction with the frontage and what they see right from Putney Road.
Well, they don't see it from Putney Road.
No, not the building, but the actual frontage of the property, of the parcel. I mean, there's a lot of parts in our regs that say like, the nonconformities of like frontage need to be, updated. I mean, I should have the quote right in front of me, but as far as the frontage, the minimum frontage, the first 20 feet along Putney Road, it says that needs to be brought up to standard.
I guess I don't understand, because you can't see into there's a driveway that goes in, the driveway is what, 250, 300 feet?
Well, not
Before-
specific to this, it's because this parcel extends to Putney Road, down here. And the zoning includes requirements for frontage requirements, but they, and I wonder if we could pull them up right now and just
Because
see if we
there
can sort it
there are
out.
two driveways that go in, there's the sign, and
so, okay,
I'm
if you're gonna
sorry.
keep talking, you can go over here so we can catch you on the
Okay,
camera
sure.
and everything. You can tell us who you are and all.
Hi, I'm Mark Tarmy. And I guess what I'm confused about is that there's a driveway here, there's a big non-conforming sign that they've been trying to change forever,
Right.
and,
We're talking about.
oh, I'm sorry,
We're talking about this
right here, big sign here, and there's a driveway on one side, which is, I think, 35 feet, 40, how wide is the driveway here?
Hang on, I have old survey data here. I wish I could do this from memory, but because we are allowed a substantial amount of, or a reasonable amount of pavement in that frontage, 400 square feet?
800.
800 square feet. And so, I mean, so that would be the essence of any change, would be to take, and it's 20 feet depth, is that correct?
The minimum front, yep.
Right, so 20, so if we're only 40 feet wide, we'd be there, because we would already, so if we're 60 feet wide, then we would be looking, trying to, reduce that 800, from 1,200 to 800, type of thing. So like a strip of, basically a grass strip on each side. You understand what we're talking about here, Mark?
You know, I kind of don't, I'm sorry.
Well, no, so,
Here's the sign, there's.
yeah, all we're talking about is this very first piece. And there's a requirement that we can only have 800 square feet of pavement. Like if, again, think if we were doing this new.
Okay.
And so we have not a lot more, and of course there's a sign that is not paved that's part of that as well.
It's wide, and then you can't do anything here because Subway needs that access to get into their place. We put a fence along here and there's grass in front of the fence all the way down. And to the, I guess the south side, they have to have access because this is the motel's office there. And they have a right of way over this driveway here,
Yeah, and again, we're only talking about the first 20 feet as well.
20 feet.
So that is a bit of an issue as far as,
So Subway
Subway.
can't, if we can't do anything here, because Subway's there, the sign is here, and that sign has about,
right,
it's
except for
about 3.5 feet.
potentially, this, a little strip of pavement could be pulled up here. It would need to maintain. You're allowed, sorry, Brian.
Nothing. I was just gonna suggest to the board that you've had enough testimony to resolve this in deliberative session.
Okay,
Okay, then I'll be quiet.
thank you.
No, I think
Recording in
that was
progress.
a really good outline of the restraint on
All right, so, can we have a motion to go into deliberative session about this issue?
That we go to deliberative session about this issue after the next case.
Okay. I'll second that. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next. We have 2025-33, a sketch plan review for the Park Street School parking. All right, tell us about your project and yourselves, please.
Yes, I am going to try to connect first, share my screen if that's okay. Do we need to use the mic? The microphone's good kind of where they are?
I don't think the microphones are on, are they?
Okay.
These ones, no, but that's okay, we can
We're
hear you
okay
just fine,
volume,
yeah.
great. Okay. Thank you for having us. I'm Corey Frizee. I'm a civil engineer with Stoneboat Consulting, and I'm here with Mary Kaufman, who's the principal of Oak Grove School and Canal Street School, and Robert Clark, the district facilities manager, is also here this evening. So we are here for sketch plan review. That's a change. We will be back before you next month. There was an issue with the lot that we are proposing some parking on for Canal Street School being a separate lot. So we have a plan to resolve that and be back before you next month for a public hearing. So appreciate the opportunity to ask you some specific questions about this site. I wanted to let Mary talk about the need for this project, and then I'll take you through kind of the technical and ask and bring up some specific discussion points that we'd like your feedback on.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you for having us this evening. So we are revitalizing the Canal Street School building, which is located at 112 Canal Street. I'm sure you've all seen it. It's a beautiful building. The inside has been redone, and really the purpose is to open up the first real public pre-K center in Brattleboro town. Currently at Oak Grove School, we house the only pre-K classroom for Brattleboro students, for 4-year-olds. And this year we opened a second classroom at Canal Street School. Next year we're moving both of our classrooms there with the hope that we can really build this into an early childhood space for public pre-K. In doing so, we have added a lot more people to the building than has been there previously. So along with our public pre-K, we share the building right now with our early childhood special education team, who come in regularly to do play groups and one-on-one sessions, group sessions with students who have IEPs. And so there are people in and out of this building all of the time, and we have a staff that is there full-time now, which we haven't had in a few years. Previously, this building was used by our Head Start programs. Not all of the classrooms were in operation. Prior to that, it served as an elementary school. In an elementary school versus pre-K, the staffing ratio is a little bit different. So we had fewer adults in the building when it was an elementary school. Now with the pre-K kiddos, we have more adults in each classroom, and we have our early childhood team there as well. So there really is a need for more parking. Currently, we have about 3 designated spaces for staff of all of our programs that are there and families to park. The back of the building does have some parking, but it's not ideal, and I would argue the fire department doesn't really like it. There is, I do believe, 1 to 2 handicap accessible spaces back there, which have been approved by the fire department, but the other parking, it's not great. So staff currently, we do have some parking on Canal Street, which is but that's only 2-hour parking. So we can't have staff parked there all of the time if they're working in the building full-time. So I think that's all.
Yeah.
That's why we need this parking.
Yeah. So there were several iterations of design that we worked through. And the one that we brought before you needs relief or reductions in some dimensional requirements. But we feel like it's the right plan primarily because it serves the school's needs for parking. And also, we feel it's a design that is going to best improve safety of pedestrians and vehicular circulation in that area. And if you're not familiar with that Clark Canal intersection, vehicles queue up at the bottom of the driveway for Canal Street School for drop-off. And so it'll help the safety of the kids that are going to the school. I think it also helps just like the safety of the neighborhood in general. So there's other designs that might work. We're here to ask you about some of these reductions because those other plans don't provide the parking that the school needs. They jeopardize trees, and they don't get to those safety. They don't get to the safety issues as much as this plan does. So I'd like to share my screen. I think that'll work best for the people at home and for you, and just give you a general overview of the project. And I'll try to be brief because this is sketch plan review. So we're talking about 2 different areas around Canal Street School. The larger oval is what is currently a basketball court and has a play structure. And then on the other side of the building is where the stormwater improvements are proposed. Is everybody familiar with Canal Street School and kind of oriented? Okay, great. This is the existing conditions plan. We can refer back to it if we need to. I want to go to this plan, which is the proposed plan, and zoom in a little bit. Hopefully that works while I'm screen sharing. Okay, so made my hand really big for tonight. So you come off of Canal Street School, and currently vehicles drive up this existing driveway where my hand is, and the school is over here, and these are the 3 dedicated spaces that Mary referred to. And what we're proposing is that vehicles will come up the existing drive just like 30 feet, and then they'll turn into this proposed parking lot. This proposed parking lot is one way, and it has angled parking. and there are 11 proposed spaces. And then the proposal is that the vehicles would then exit out onto Clark Street. Clark Street is one way. And so quickly, one of the issues that we feel like this is really going to help is that cars come down from the school. I can't say in public whether I've done this before, but they take an immediate left turn out here onto Canal Street. And Clark Street's one way. So not only is that unsafe because they're kind of pulling a U-ey, but it's also illegal to make a left turn onto Clark Street. This will get the vast majority of the cars to be going down Clark Street the right way. An added benefit that we're talking about with the school is that drop-off, which I talked about cars queuing up out here on Clark Street, drop-off, cars could come in here and parents could queue up in the parking lot off of Clark Street away from the intersection to drop off their kids. You mentioned the fire department. I have a photo if we want to look at a photo, but generally speaking, emergency vehicles can't get around the Canal Street School if there's cars parked up by the school. And we're going to remove about 5 or 6 of those spaces, and they'll be relocated down here. And so we've met with the fire chief and the assistant chief, and they seemed happy that we're going to alleviate that parking constraint up by the school. One clarification, I don't believe that any vehicles that are parked will have to back into the right-of-way. I think that the staff memo was talking about these spaces backing into this existing drive in order to get out. That's the existing driveway, not a right-of-way. I can pause there, but I'd like to get into my specific questions that we're looking for feedback on. Any clarifications that people need at this point?
Go ahead, Tim.
Since you just mentioned it, you said that people could sort of stack up, queue up for pickup and drop off, or pickup.
Yeah.
Would that just block everybody from being able to leave the lot? Or is that
Yes.
just something that people are, they know what time is coming and they just know they can't leave during that time period?
Mary can speak. They have a staff person down there directing traffic right now, right?
Yeah, so it would be staff, you know, it would be set. Drop-off times would be very clear, like 8 to 8:15. This is a kind of a drop-off area. And then most staff should be there already, parked in those spots. And then any staff that would need to come would just arrive after that drop-off time. So that, yeah, the families dropping off would just kind of park in that middle spot to let the kids out of the car and then move right along.
And Tim, you're right. Like if one parent takes longer than the other to say goodbye, then like the parent behind is going to have to wait.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
or one student's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just better than the current condition.
Sure.
Yeah. So, okay to keep going? Stop me, we can go back. So, this is a picture of the site that is going to load onto your screen any moment. There we go. And I tried to get a photo that just captures what we're trying to utilize for this parking. And so the first discussion point is setback waivers. There is a 10-foot setback off of Clark Street, and we are asking to have it reduced to 5 feet. The way I read the code, the minimum reduction allowed is to 5 feet. And that allows us to not get into those trees. So we're asking for these reductions in dimensions so that we can work within this flat area that is basically the fence, the perimeter of that fence that you see. The fence is proposed to go away, but that's a good reference for you if you've been to the site. So, like to know if the DRB would support that setback waiver.
So the primary thing with your application, I think you mentioned, is that these are 2 lots now, and you are going to combine them
Yes.
into a single lot. So that's
Yeah, that was a hang up in this application, that wasn't realized until it was too late to rectify before tonight. But we are going to have these, they're on the same deed already, so I guess merging the lots, I don't know if that's the correct legal term. But when we come before you next month, this will not be, parking will not be the primary use on this small lot. Did I say that right? Okay.
And I think when we're at that situation where you are, this is one lot, and I think we can, or at least it'll be easier for me to look at it and as a holistic thing.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because I think that's important.
Question I have, is it, I noticed on the proposed plan that there's a bit of a downslope from the trees to Clark Street?
Yeah.
Is there, and there's provisions that we have to try to prevent, what does it say? Graded, so that way water flow does not go off the property. And so often like front and side setbacks are part of where that water might infiltrate. If the land is sloped towards the road, then the setbacks help infiltrate that. But with a reduced setback that will be planted, and then also the exit of the parking lot being just paved, obviously, is there a way you can mitigate that by sloping the land towards the trees? Seems like it's about maybe 2 feet that it slopes from the trees to the street. Can you make it level, or in fact slope it just a slight bit back inland, so to speak?
I looked at that,
Yeah.
and I didn't think that there was a viable way to do that successfully. The land could be sloped towards the trees, but then I don't know what to do with the water, right? So, item number 4 is the stormwater. So, treating, the plan is proposed that the water is going to have a similar drainage pattern it has now. It's gonna come out, it's gonna go into Clark Street. The benefit is that we've coordinated with DPW to put in another catch basin, so the drainage in Clark Street will be improved. But I hear you, and I couldn't find a way to do that.
Is pervious pavers in the budget?
No.
Financially feasible?
No. It is also something that was considered as far as the options for treating stormwater. I'll speak to that briefly. There's a better and larger benefit to treating stormwater up by the school for a couple reasons. We're treating a larger area than the parking that's being created. And we're also removing 1,100 square feet of asphalt beyond that to make room for the infiltration basin. So it's a trade-off, but it's one that has a bigger bang for the buck, so to speak. The other dimensional reduction that we're looking for is from parking requirements. The drive aisle is proposed to be 13 feet instead of 16 feet, and there are spaces that are proposed to be compact parking spaces instead of the standard 18 by 9 foot spaces. They're proposed to be 16 feet by 8 feet.
How many? Compact ones?
2?
There's at least 3.
Go ahead, Steve.
So I just want to point out that those particular requirements don't have any waiver capability as far as our regulations are concerned. The minimum is the minimum.
Yep. So it doesn't matter, right?
So is there not a path forward?
It's a tough one.
I think the path forward would be to go before a different committee, right? The design,
Planning commission?
the planning
DRC?
commission could change the reg
Oh,
urban planning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think we have to follow what they have written.
yeah. I don't know how we can get around that,
Okay,
yeah.
that answers a pretty big question for us.
I don't know, do you guys agree?
Could you do fewer parking spots?
Yeah.
I know that's not what you want.
Well, as I said, there's other plans that result in fewer parking spaces and need less reductions from these dimensions. They not only meet the needs of the school less, but they also don't have the same benefits to the kind of this intersection and safety.
Yeah, I don't see that we have the power to do this.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm in favor of a setback
Huh?
waiver.
But we can't,
That-
the minimum size.
No, I
of
know, I'm
it's-
talking about the
Oh,
previous
the-
question.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I'd like to continue to cover the other items, because there was a question in the staff memo about screening and buffering, and I wanted to just see if the DRB thought that our screening and buffering was satisfactory. It meets the requirements of section 314 from like a calculation figure number of plants standpoint. And it also, there is a existing fence, I'll go to that picture real quick. We talked with the neighbor, and there's a, it'll come up in a second. That fence along the property line with the neighbor averages about 5.5 feet. It is opaque from 1 to 5 feet high. And we talked to the neighbor, and she was not worried about it. That's, yeah. So she would like to keep the fence. So rather than impact her, the fence seems to meet the requirements, and it seems appropriate to keep the fence. But if there were concerns about our buffers or screening, I'd like to know that so that when we come back to you, we can resolve that.
One thought I have right now, and it's been something I've kind of been noticing with our landscape regs for a while, is that especially when a buffer is quite thin or slim, and being in such a cold climate, deciduous plants are leafless more of the year than they actually have leaves. It's like 7 months to 5 months. So I wonder if you could look into choosing evergreens for us to consider in considering the waiver, because to me that would be a much more effective slim buffer for screening, to actually have something that's leafed out 12 months of the year instead of 5. I don't think that's that's not actually a requirement in the regs, but since we're considering and balancing things here for the waiver.
Do these kids go to school all year?
Currently, no. We are looking to offer a summer option.
Summer program?
Yeah.
I just was curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback. We have a licensed landscape architect, so I'm not going to comment on that, but I'll talk with them and see.
There should be a few options.
Or at least have them
Hopefully
provide an explanation for if we come back with the
Sure.
same thing.
Okay.
So thank you. The second, access and curb cut. We are adding one curb cut to clarify this. Oh, gotta wait for the screen to catch up.
Make it a circular thing, right?
So this is an existing curb cut that comes off of Clark into the existing driveway for the school. So I don't think this would be considered a new curb cut because it's off of an existing drive. We are proposing to add a curb cut here out onto Clark Street, which if the lots are merged, I think that would mean that you'd have 2 curb cuts. They're about 100 feet apart. The minimum is 50, I believe. So I don't, with the parking dimensions and no ability to do a waiver there, I don't know what plan we're gonna come back to you with,
Mhm.
but I wanted to ask about the second curb cut. Do you have concerns about that?
I don't. I like the, the circulation kind of thing. I think that makes sense for what you're trying to do. But anybody else have an opinion there?
Yeah, I think it's reasonable and makes sense.
Yeah. And to me, it seems safer, right?
Yeah.
Do you, I don't know, you
I agree.
guys?
Circulation.
Unless staff comes back and says, no, you can't.
We do have the ability to do that.
Yeah, it seems fine.
And so circling back on stormwater, having the stormwater up by the school and, having kind of like the ability to treat more stormwater, but not be able to, I looked at ways to catch the stormwater at the edge and use the buffer, and the grading just, it doesn't work in the third dimension. There's something called an infiltration trench that can be done. It's also a state practice. But at the edge of a driveway or at the edge of a parking lot, it doesn't make sense because it's gonna get clogged with sand. So, I couldn't find something that seemed appropriate and practical in this, for this lot.
Looking at your renderings, I do have a couple questions about the retention pond.
Oh, yeah, we can, definitely talk about what's happening up by that corner of the school.
So the first thing I'm wondering is if the two handicap spots are conforming to the dimensional requirements for.
Yes, they
They
are.
are, okay.
It's a van space, so it's 16 feet wide. If you only have one space, it has to be 8 feet for the vehicle and then another 8 feet to offload. So it looks like two spaces. And I could go up to the other plan, but then we'd have to wait for the screen to move. So the space is, my hand go away? The space is in the vicinity of where that infiltration basin is, and it's gonna be relocated down to the lower right on your screen. You see the angled striping there. So that's that one space relocated, and it does meet dimensional requirements. It's got a drive aisle behind it that meets the minimum drive aisle requirement.
It actually places that space closer to the accessible
That's
lift.
right, that's right.
What I'd love to see, and maybe it's just me, is I had a hard time putting this application together. So this, because it's two lots, first of all, that was confusing, but I'd love to see it rendered in relation to one another.
Yes.
Because I eventually determined that was in the left, the upper corner behind the building, but
It was confusing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
To look at.
I can create an additional site plan that'll be at a much smaller scale, but will show you the entire building. I think that's what,
That would be
that's what I'm
helpful.
hearing.
Yeah.
And was this helpful tonight? Oh, gotta wait. Was the aerial photo helpful tonight to get you oriented?
That is, yes, this is nice, and I don't think
Okay.
we didn't get this in our materials.
Oh, yeah.
Not that specifically with the red. So, okay, that's good feedback, thank you.
A question, will any cars be parked in this parking lot, during nighttime, when it's dark?
No.
No?
No janitor?
Perhaps, there may be an evening event, but on a regular basis, no.
And there will be 5 spaces up by the school still.
Mhm.
Principal parking only.
Principal parking only.
I saw in your application here, you said there'd be no sign, but I assume you'd want some sort of sign in the parking lot saying,
A directional sign.
or who's employees only, or,
Yeah.
That is true.
One-way signs.
I
that's
don't know,
what
that probably doesn't quite count because it's not a road sign, but I was just thinking, to your point, like, people, you know, people will park in the lot at night, for whatever
Neighbors.
reason.
Right.
Right.
So you'll wanna make that clear. I don't know if we need to get into who, you know, are you gonna have guest spots, or is it all assigned parking or whatever? I don't think we need to worry too much about that.
All things we've thought about, but should probably put down on paper.
Mhm.
Yes.
And yeah, and if you were to come back with a complete site plan, that would help just determining parking, cause the application was a little unclear about what the parking was going to be, cause I think it said that you were going from 9 spots to 18,
Correct, right.
but on this lot in question, we're going from 0 to 11 in the proposal.
But then they're taking away some at the top, right, for the fire department.
Right.
So I'd love to
The application was
that.
prepared assuming that it was gonna be considered one lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that will be a lot clearer next month.
But sorry if you mentioned it, but is the little playground and ball lot leaving entirely, or is it getting relocated?
We're working to donate and relocate the playground structure. The basketball court, there's consideration for putting a hoop back up in the parking lot. That hasn't been decided yet.
Google Maps tells me it's called Rouleau Park. I never knew that. FYI.
And actually, the play structure is unusable for the age group, the kids that we have. It is not approved for 4-year-olds. So right now, it can't even be used by our students, unfortunately. It's a beautiful structure, actually. So we're hoping we can find a good home for it.
Catherine, do you have anything you want to ask or comment on?
She muted. Do we have to unmute her?
No, not this time,
Thank you.
not this time.
Anybody, public, want to comment?
Yeah.
Come up, state your name, tell us your interest. Tell us your,
My name is Robert Clark, I'm the district facility manager, and I'm the person responsible for making this happen. So if you can only imagine, there's a whole bunch of 4-year-olds all behind me. So I speak for them. I understand there's a lot of rules and regulations, and adults love their rules and regulations. I speak for them. This is my job is to take care of these kids. And the current situation is just not good. So think about this building, 1894. There were no cars. So there was no parking. There was no thought of parking. We fast forward to today, laws change, suddenly it's a mandate from the state. We run around trying to fulfill the mandates, and the school's really challenged with aging infrastructure. The last big project that I know of that the state funded was the high school project, but that was a long time ago. And we do have an aging infrastructure, and there are so many challenges, and this is one of them. I mean, we spent so much time on the inside and doing testing for like radon, making sure the building's very safe for these children that are going to now occupy it. It stayed dormant for quite a while. And there was a lot of effort put into this by a lot of different people. But the parking area came along too late. So I'll take full responsibility that probably should have been started a year earlier had I been clairvoyant and known that this law was going to get passed and we were going to suddenly re-energize this building. But here we are. And we're dealing with 2025 with an 1894 building. It's a real conundrum. for everybody. I just hope that there's some way that we can make this work. Because if you just come visit the site during this drop-off, it's scary sometimes. It's just out of control. And we just don't want that type of atmosphere in the morning, that chaos. That's not what they're there for. If one of the children has to run out in front of a car, it's a very busy intersection. I've spent enough time there just watching. And it's concerning. And the fire department, for years, has said about the back of that building was just, you've got to do something. If people park up back, they can't get around the corner, they can't get to the rear of the building, and that will finally be addressed by having this parking lot. This still does not solve our problems, by the way. We're still going to be hard pressed. Even with 11, and now we're down to 9, we keep going down and down. I don't know. I'm just here to say, please, just think of those little 4-year-olds. I mean, they can't speak for themselves, so I'm here to speak for them, and not eloquently, but passionately. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No?
My name's Paul Berto from 61 Clark Street. I guess having seen for many years kids dropped off and the sidewalks not plowed or cleared, I've always been concerned a kid would slide under a car or get hurt just trying to get out on the sidewalk. But notwithstanding, I still wonder if maybe that's safer than having, I'm imagining many snowy days, cars going up. Instead of pulling right onto Clark Street, starting up the hill towards the school, the drive, and then turning left into the parking lot. I just wonder how the snow removal will be. Safety for the kids, if it's been a problem on the flat, it introduces other dynamics of where you're going to put the snow, who's going to clear it. Is it going to be actually safer to be driving vehicles up and down? And then some other thoughts are, I don't think they enforce the 2-hour parking now, and I don't recall when there hasn't been quite a number of parking places free on Canal Street, open. I'm not sure they're used that much, and I wonder if we could maybe permit them so they could use them. It's all a 40-second walk up past the diner, across the crosswalk, and up the drive. Well, starting up the drive. So those are some thoughts. It's a beautiful aesthetic part of the community, and a lot of the Wyndham Windsor rental units on Clark Street have absolutely no yard for the kids to play. So kids are playing in the street. So a number of people, I personally don't really care, but I'm speaking for people who have talked to me, they hate to see a nice little playground for the local community and young families to be able to use that. So those are some thoughts.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the applicant didn't talk about plowing at all. So what will be
Well,
done with snow?
it's hard when you don't have a plan,
Oh, okay.
you know, I
Well,
mean,
Wait until
I
next
think
month.
like kind of a plan, and then you can talk
Okay.
about how do you do the snow with it, right? Is that what you were?
We did talk about that. We
Yeah,
thought of it.
And
Yeah,
we've talked with
Okay.
the school's facilities, Robert and the person who does this specific school about plowing, to come up with a plan for plowing.
Good, then, so when you come back, you can talk about that.
Mhm.
I did have a question, I don't have little kids or anything, but do any of them come in buses or vans? And how does that work?
Yeah, so currently, we have only one kiddo who rides the bus, and that they get dropped off on the corner of Canal and Clark, so the bus stop is on Canal Street. Next year, we will be offering more transportation for our public pre-K students. My assumption is that the bus stop will have to remain on Canal Street. I don't know if that can change with this. I'd have to talk to the bus company about that.
Is it a big bus or, I mean, that would be good information to have.
Sure.
When you come back, you know, what size of a bus and kind of be elsewhere with a 4-year-old than the main road.
Sounds like we generally are bound a little bit by a problem that we don't have
Any
control
power.
over, any
Right.
power to change, but we have a lot of support for the project in general.
Yes,
Sounds like.
yeah.
So I hope we can make it happen.
Well, thank you. This feedback's helpful, and if we can come back and talk more about the setback waiver, which is within your purview, and being able to do the stormwater by the school, I think I'll be able to develop a plan that the school will be satisfied with and come back to you in a month.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
But anybody else have anything? No? Okay.
I would extend the invitation that Robert shared. Please come visit Canal Street School anytime. It's really beautifully renovated inside, and we love to show it off.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've never been inside.
No, I haven't.
Oh, give me a call at Oak Grove School. I'll set you up with a tour.
I have a 7-year-old, so,
There you go.
The bell tower is beautiful.
nice,
It
Very
has
cool.
the original timepiece still up there.
Oh, nice.
nice.
It's a very cool building.
Impressive from the street front, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now I think we were gonna go into deliberative session. Motion?
Motion to close the public hearing at 7:47.
Yep, motion to close the public hearing at, what's that? 10:08.
I'll motion that we close.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.